Japan is now under pressure after the Islamic State released a new video. The newest footage shows 2 Japanese captives being held against their will. A man dressed in black wielding a knife asked for $200 million in the next 72 hours. The video resembles similar Islamic State tapings in which previous captives were threatened and some even killed. This is the first hostage crisis since Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2013. The black-cloaked figure in the video says the Japanese government needs to stop acting foolish in regards to their support of the U.S.-led coalition. Abe called the Islamic State's threats unacceptable.
It's an unacceptable act to threaten us in exchange of human lives, and I feel angry about it. I strongly urge them to immediately release the hostages without harming them.
The kidnapping of 2 Japanese citizens by the Islamic State is now under investigation of authorities. Japanese President Shinzo Abe just recently pledged $200 million to any countries willing to battle the Islamic State. Some wonder what Japan's plan of action will be. The country has been known to pay ransom for the release of hostages in the past. In 1977, previous Prime Minister Takeo Fukuda paid $6 million to hijackers aboard a Japanese airliner. This time may not be so simple. Abe considers the U.S. a close ally, and Islamic State is a well-known terrorist group. Japan continues to pledge that non-military support will not stop in the Middle East. The country has yet to speak out on their plans against the militant group. Abe says that the international community needs to respond firmly and cooperative without carving into terrorism.
The international community would suffer enormous damage if terrorism and weapons of mass destruction spread in the region.
Charges have been filed in the Paris attacks that led to 17 deaths. The suspects are men aged 22 to 28 who are charged on suspicion of supporting one of the attackers. They are believed to be linked to Ahmadi Kulabi, the shooter in the Jewish supermarket onslaught. More than 12 people were arrested in raids after having possible connections to the terrorists. All but the 4 charged have been released. Since the attacks, nearly 15,000 police and troops have been sent to reinforce security in France. Belgium is also taking precautionary measures by deploying hundreds of soldiers. A formal investigation is now underway into the 4 remaining suspects. Chaos erupted in a Nepal parliament meeting. 12 people were injured when fists and chairs were thrown during a constituent assembly meeting regarding constitution drafting. Opposition Maoist leaders became furious over a proposal allowing the formation of a questionnaire committee to figure out the new constitution details. The Maoist group believes that a questionnaire committee may end the Constituent Assembly itself. According to the chairman of the Political Dialogue and Consensus Committee, the formation of the questionnaire panel will split the CA, paving the way for its demise. The Assembly has tried to draft a constitution since 2008. Arguments between political parties have slowed further production of the meeting. Fear of Chinese control shakes Hong Kong. On Sunday, a new Army cadet group was inaugurated by Hong Kong leader Leung Chun-ying. The Army group was modeled after China's People's Liberation Army. A Chinese newspaper caught pictures of the cadets marching in Chinese PLA uniforms. Former Hong Kong leader Tung Chee-ha said that the central government has the power to take Chinese laws and introduce them to Hong Kong. Tung has previously tried to push for Article 23, a bill proposing Hong Kong to enact its own laws prohibiting abuse by the Chinese government. Due to mass protests over Article 23, the bill was dropped. Thousands of student-led demonstrators marched in the streets of Hong Kong last year, pushing for a free election. During the protests, multiple banners and posters mocked Chinese President Xi Jinping. School children in Kenya faced a brutal reaction from authorities. Students at a school in the capital of Nairobi went on protests this week after a wall was built blocking their playground. The wall was assembled after a developer claimed ownership of the land and stated that they were going to possibly build a parking lot. The students became angry and eventually pushed down the wall. School security forces and police fired tear gas at the children, trying to disperse the group. This caused major backlash from parents, since most of the children are aged 6 to 13. Television footage captured video of students screaming and choking from the gas. The future isn't clear for the lives of 2 people kidnapped this week in the Central African Republic. A French woman working for a Catholic medical charity, along with a local citizen, were taken from their vehicle by armed men. The driver of the vehicle said he was stopped at a checkpoint when the 2 were pulled out of the car. The kidnappers are allegedly part of the so-called anti-Balaka militia. An arrest was made by UN peacekeepers who linked the militia's senior leader of the group to rebellion and looting. According to the country's National Secretary of Catholic Charities, the kidnappers are demanding the release of the UN prisoner. The French government is asking for the women's release and has condemned the kidnapping. A not-so-bright forecast lies ahead for global economic growth, according to the International Monetary Fund. The IMF has decreased their yearly estimate 0.3% from the original growth forecast. The group says that the downgrade comes from negative factors, specifically weaker investments. Primarily due to the drop in oil prices, many countries will economically flourish in the new year. Although the IMF has predicted an increase, it isn't very strong. They say the global economy will only escalate by a mere 1.2%.